Sunny Silverstone plays host to round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series, and the cars making their way out onto the grid for the second 3-hour race of the 5-race season. Silverstone is a circuit that always delivers good racing, and this should be no exception. It's another monster grid, and we've had some drama right the way through the weekend. 28 degrees is the track temperature. It's a sunny day, 1 or 2 clouds in the sky. It's a little bit breezy outside, and the drivers won't be too worried about that because it's going to be very hot indeed inside the cars. Many of the teams already trying to reflect some of the heat rather than that be soaked up by the cars as they sit on the grid. We've had one race at Monza. It was very much Ferrari's day in the sun because each of the 3 classes, Pro Cup, Pro-Am and indeed the Gentleman Trophy, all won by a Ferrari. And so as we go towards this second round of the championship, is it going to be a Ferrari circuit or are we going to find different manufacturers up at the top? Let's check out though first some of the top stories of the weekend. Pole position here last year was the Vita 4-1 BMW of Frank Kekler, but for this season it's a very different story. The German driver is still quick, but qualifying this morning certainly did not go his way. Traffic was one problem, but also the BMW just not looking as strong in 2013 as last season.
We had a bit of a trouble in the qualifying. First half of the qualifying we struggled with the cars. We had some technical issues with the power steering. It's for sure a tough race. It's 60 cars, it's a great field. We have the best GT drivers in the world here. BMW is not as strong as last year. It's still competitive, so that's no excuse, and I hope that we can have a good performance in the race, because in Monza we were really quick until sadly we had 2 spins, but it was a promising performance in the race, and I think we should go front this year again.
Adam Carroll was one of the heroes of Monza in that fantastic fight to the flag. He took 3rd place, and now he comes to Silverstone a year after his GT debut. That was for Vita 4-1. Now he's very much established at Gulf Racing, and the Northern Irish driver is going to be one to watch this weekend for sure.
I have really enjoyed everything so far. It's a fantastic championship. You know, it's really got a huge pool of talent all across the board. You've the gentleman drivers, and it's a great platform for everybody, from a pro to amateur to gentleman driver, everything to go racing. It really is one of the best championships in the world.
It's welcome back to the Blancpain Endurance Series for Fred Makovici. Aston Martin Racing is doing this race as a one-off. It's Aston Martin's home circuit after all, and the fast Frenchman did the top time, not in Q3 but in Q2, and it's his Aston Martin Vantage V8 that's going to start here on pole position.
I had a good qualify, a good lap, and it was not so easy because the traffic is really hard, and we did a great lap, and it's important for us because this is a home race, only one shot for Aston Martin, and between 15 and maybe 20 cars can win the race. We would like to do a good result and good performance here.
Welcome back to the Blancpain Endurance Series to Duncan Tappy. He missed Monza while he was hunting for a deal, but Duncan, who finished last season with a win at Navarra for McLaren, is now at Mercedes. He drives for the Black Falcon racing team, he's in the Pro-Am class, and he is going to be one of the fastest drivers in the category.
It means the world to me to be back racing in the Blancpain Endurance Series. It's the biggest and best GT championship in the world, I think, at the moment, so it's where all us racing drivers want to be.
Another star of Monza was Alex Buncombe. Once again, he proved the pace of the Nissan in the Italian race in the opening round of the championship, and although he had a brake problem here early on Saturday, Alex was fastest in Q3. And once again, this car is going to be one to watch when we go racing.
Well, you know, what more can I say, but what a fantastic series, you know. Amazing cars, amazing drivers, amazing circuits to boot, so what more could I want as a racing driver?
Alex Buncombe is on the outside of the front row of the grid, but unlike Monza, he will go last in that car. The pole-sitting car, Darren Turner, is going to be the man behind the wheel. That's the second row, Audi and Ferrari. Row 3, you'll find Nissan on the left, Eric Dermont's Porsche on the right. Go back a row, Davide Arrigon starts in the Monza-winning Ferrari, Stefan Ortelli alongside him. Then it's Bas Linders up against the pit wall in the BMW, Eugenio Amos alongside in the Ferrari that had brake problems at Monza. Rahel Fry starts number 2, Steve Jans in the Mercedes alongside. Enzo Ida is next in Audi 16. 6 will be started alongside by Harold Primat. Then it is Mark Poole going first in his Aston Martin with Mark Hayek for company. Then it is Oliver Morley and Stefano Colombo. And we go through the rest of the grid just a touch quicker, picking out Fortex white Mercedes, Blancpain debut there. To the right is the Hexis McLaren, a long way back. ART Grand Prix McLarens, further back than they wanted to be as well. Pro Speed's Porsche is going to be started by Mark Henrici, and that is another car much further back on the grid than you expect to find it. We're about to go racing. It is time for a very deep breath, not only in terms of describing the first few corners, but I suspect there's a sharp intake of breath in race control as well, because the race director is hoping that everybody gets through this first lap like they did at Monza, to be fair to the guys, without any drama whatsoever. It is Darren Turner who lines up on pole position. He's got Lucas Ordóñez alongside him. In theory, Darren Turner should grab the lead, but let's see. We go racing at Silverstone, lights out, down towards Copse Corner they go, and a good start is made by Darren Turner, but Lucas Ordóñez in the Nissan comes up on the outside, and Alexander Scriabin tries to go with them in the Ferrari. They pour their way into Copse Corner. On board with Bas Linders in BMW number 3. Power on up towards Maggots for the first time. They've all got through Copse safe and sound. And now as they work their way towards Beckett's, then it's a very good start that's put Lucas Ordóñez into the lead. Darren Turner slips back into second place. Scriabin is third in the Ferrari.
Yeah, the grunt of the Nissan into Copse just gave it the advantage over Darren Turner. Sensibly, Darren didn't try and make an issue of it. He let the Nissan take the lead. It's a long race this afternoon. That Aston has got good pace. They've worked very, very hard to get a balance in the car from fuel to empty tanks.
Stowe Corner, lap 1, field pouring through, including 57 there, Eugenio Amos, and one of the Mark VDS BMWs running us a little bit wide there, but drivers hunting not just for an apex but for track position. Look at that, €1 million car park almost, a mobile showroom of supercars pouring through.
Yeah, the opening laps, the front 3 rows of the grid there, pretty much line astern, but beyond that, all the way back down to what was the 28th row of the grid, it's just, as you say, a travelling car park. It'll take 3 or 4 laps for it to resolve itself. For drivers to get over the nerves, somebody runs very wide, coming the middle of club, one of the Porsches.
That's Ahmed Al-Hadi, the Oman driver, and he can't get back on. There's no room, there's all this traffic.
Well, there certainly was talk about abuse of the racetrack. Look at the abuse coming through the exit of club. 3 cars, more than 1 car width off the racetrack. That'll not be a problem at this point, but if they persist in doing that through the race, then they will get notice to stop doing it.
Tell you what, there's an awful lot of land owned by the BRDC, the owners of Silverstone, and there isn't enough of it to accommodate the cars because they're everywhere. Lap 1, out of Aintree, down towards Brooklands they come, and this is the leader, Lucas Ordóñez, ahead of Darren Turner. Behind them is Alexander Scriabin, who's got Ferrari Challenge experience, but really, he's not done a huge amount of racing at this level, and he's doing a very good job on this opening lap of the race.
Yes, he's maintained his position on the grid. Fourth, he was third, yes, the Audi in 4th, Christopher Mies in 4th position. As we have a little look as they come through, this is the tail end of the field coming through Woodcote, just across the start-finish line.
Bas Linders you're on board with, and where's he at the end of lap number 1? 9th, just ahead of the 57 Ferrari, which is started by Eugenio Amos. There is the man that was on, or the car rather, that was on pole position here last year when Frank Kekler did the time. Stefano Colombo is at the wheel of it, but admitting Frank Kekler to me this morning, the BMW is just not as quick as last year. Now we're back on board with Bas Linders, and he's getting very busy because ahead of him is Eric Dermont in the Porsche, and he's holding up the BMW, and a bit of bodywork has just gone flying off a car coming past the pits. It's offline as we're riding with Linders.
Yeah, Linders is trying to take a position coming down what was the fastest part of the racetrack, that is the Hanger Straight, no longer the case. So it's Porsche versus BMW on the inside. Bas Linders makes a very straightforward, almost a gift to him in the BMW.
Winners here last year, remember that car? They had a good battle for the first 2 hours with Audi, and then in the last stint they put Maxime Martin in the BMW, and nobody really saw him again. He just drove off into the distance, as is his wont. So we're on lap 2, 3-hour race. Don't forget 2 mandatory pit stops. What is going to happen in this second round of the Blancpain Endurance Series? Ferrari up at the top, not quite at the sharp end, but they're in that leading group, but it's a different team running the car from the Monza winning one. This is S&P Racing for Alexander Scriabin as against Kessel Racing. That's that bit of bodywork I mentioned that flew off coming past the pits, and the marshals quickly on the scene to retrieve that. It came off one of the Santilok cars, I think, as we've got this right old scrum heading into Village. Audi versus Ferrari, and again that's Eugenio Amos looking to try to get back his place and tucked up behind his Enzo Ida in the Audi.
It's very, very easy as you come through the complex one farm curve up to Village, then into the loop. Out of Village you can take a look down the inside into the loop. You compromise your exit, allows the car to make a switch back, but you know it's still so early in this race. It's more about getting a feel for the car, the feel for your tyres, not overdriving and not making maybe a premature move that's not very well judged. Then let it come to you.
Getting news also that Wolfgang Reip's Nissan has lost some bodywork on the opening lap, but this is the leading Nissan. It is Lucas Ordóñez. Darren Turner is behind him, and let's just see what the gap is between the pair of them now. It is a 1/10 of a second or so, sorry, 9/10 of a second I should say, as they came over the timing line, and there in trouble is number 6, and that to be started by Harold Primat.
Indeed, so he's been off track. In the meantime, the first 2 cars are trading fastest times in the individual sectors. So So they've got a small gap. Well, it's 3 seconds between first and third, the lead Ferrari.
And here you've got Eugenio Amos trying to get himself past Porsche, but also in this little group, he's number 2, Rahul Frey. So 3 different types of car all running together. They come onto Hanger Straight absolutely as one. Down towards Stoke Corner. And side by side, Eric Demont under attack now. Rahul Frey to the inside in the Audi. She can't get through though, the door is slammed in her face.
Very cautious, he could have been a bit more forceful, could have stuck the Audi down a bit deeper. Now he's under threat from behind, so in that cautious move, he's opened up the door for a challenge from the car next up.
And so as they come out of Club Corner past the Silverstone wing, we are currently working lap number 3. Remember, it's Lucas Ordóñez leading from Darren Turner, and Alexander Scriabin driving the race of his life in 3rd ahead of Christopher Mies. And then in 5th place at the moment, in 23, is Peter Dumbrek. Now this is what happened at Brooklands on the first lap. Harold Primat getting shovelled aside, and that was by a rather aggressive Victor Shaita. And so around goes the Audi, just missed by Henri Moser.
That might get looked back to the stewards. That was an avoidable incident. You've got to give a car working room if you know it's there. If you don't know it's there, well, that was the penalty. So it may be looked at by the stewards, but in these opening laps, I think there's a little bit. Well, contact between car 71 and number 6 has been reported at turn 6, so consequently, that's why we got the repeat of it.
And so the stewards will have a look at that. The race director keeping an eye to it as well. And as we've got the mid-pack battling its way through Luffield, in number 13 is Christopher Mies. You've got Peter Dumbrek right on his tail. So look at this, Ferrari, Audi, Nissan, Audi. Different types of car battling amongst themselves here, and the balance of performance working nicely. The BMW is 10 kilos lighter coming into this weekend, the Mercedes 10 kilos lighter as well. And look at the different shapes as well. You've got the low-line Audi and then the Nissan sort of looming large over the top of it.
Well, the Nissan is, in a sense, the true spirit of a GT car, because you could actually put small-sized people, call them children if you wish, in the back of the Nissan, whereas everything else is a true two-seater GT car. But the Nissan is a physically much bigger car, but it's got a lot of performance. Team working very hard to get the balance of the handling right. They find they got a lot of understeer entering, a lot of oversteer in the exit. They still got it sorted out for qualifying to be in the front row of the grid, though.
How about this battle going on? You've got Oliver Morley ahead of Godfrey Jones, the 2 Mercedes, and then behind them is Harold Primat, delayed after his earlier spin in the Audi, and he's looking for way past traffic, and Godfrey Jones goes off.
And he had a lock-up, that was the reason why he went off. Just overran the corner too hard on the brakes and loses 2 places in the process.
The redoubtable Jones twins, and they've got Morgan, David's son, joining them this weekend as well, up towards the loop. So Harold Primat was the beneficiary out of that, the ex-single-seater racer turned prototype, now turned GT racer, gaining 1 spot away from the Pressy Spark Mercedes. A lot has happened in the first 13 laps of this race, but Lucas Ordóñez is still there resolutely at the head of the field, but the gap has come down. It's 0.4 now between Ordóñez and Turner. Of course, increasingly traffic has a say in that.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting the seesaw effect of where you happen to catch a car that you're going to lap. Here we see the lead Nissan and the Aston Martin, and second Ordóñez and Darren Turner. In the gap you can see it comes to 0.425 of a second as they go across the start-finish line on the Grand Prix grid. It's probably not a lot different.
Somebody off there, one of the Gulf Racing McLarens, bouncing back onto the circuit, right ahead of the leaders who go either side of it, and then side by side as well. Turner on the outside, is he going to work? Not there, but the inside up towards the loop. Go on, Darren, he's going to do it, isn't he, on the inside line? Yes! Aston Martin goes through. Great driving by Darren Turner, and that was all that experience put to use.
That's the difference between being a race driver and being a virtual race driver. You can't buy the experience. Ordóñez does a great job for the limited amount of racing experience he has, but Darren Turner has got, not decades, but certainly many years of a racer, single-seaters, GT, prototypes, and he saw that situation, read it absolutely perfectly, put the Aston Martin into position, blocked out the apex of loop, got ahead of the Nissan, and now he's got to deal with traffic as well, so he's now in the position that Ordóñez was, half a lap ago.
So he leads, and he leads by 0.4 of a second. Just doing some quick sums, I reckon Darren's in his 3rd decade of racing, because he started in the mid to late 90s, didn't he? But he's got all of this experience, as you say, and Lucas Ordóñez is staying with him. What'll be fascinating now is to see whether Ordóñez can fight back and retake that race lead. We're on lap number 15, we've got a new race leader, it's Darren Turner, and that was stirring stuff coming up towards Village. Backmarker made a mistake, they went either side, and Darren just stood his ground because he knew which way the circuit would go to open up that line for him.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot buy that experience car. Stop. Just to get a glimpse of it. There's the McLaren. That's what we caught a glimpse of just coming out of Abbey. It was the Porsche, of course, that had stopped earlier in the background. And there we see the battle for the lead. The two cars split the McLaren, but Darren goes the long way around Village and gets himself into position to take the lead of the race into loop, or the loop. And once he's done so, then he's got the advantage. Now he's got clear air in relative terms. They are catching and overtaking the slower cars, but it's not the same as being stacked up in a group of cars, which is going on 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th positions.
He's also got a small advantage still to come, hasn't he? Because they're going to put next into that car Fred Makovičius. Harold Primat's off the road for the 2nd time in the race, and that's coming out of Brooklands by the look of it. Go back to my Aston Martin point. Fred Makovičius will go next, whereas in 35 it's going to be Peter Petzera, who is nowhere near as experienced, and that in real terms should widen the gap between the Aston over the Nissan.
I mean, the Aston Martin, the driver lineup in the Aston Martin is undoubtedly, in my view, the strongest of any team out there. I mean, it is 3 guys who are so familiar with that car. They're going to be driving an Aston Martin in 2 weeks' time at Le Mans. Whether it's...
This is Baz Linders.
Baz, what are you doing?
Fires it up, he's had a spin.
2 cars, that's what's happened. There's been a collision with the Audi.
Yeah. He's in the gravel, isn't it? Coming out of Farb. You can see the tyre marks on the road. Look at the witness marks. And is that the Audi of Michael Ammermuller?
Well, I wonder if it is the Ammermuller. Certainly, there's been a collision as they've come out of Abbey and made their way through what would be Farm Curve. The BMW is not going to be able to get out there unassisted. And, well, he's got 2. Let's look and see what's going on. What's the Audi doing way offline on the outside of Abbey? Strange.
That's a back marker, isn't it?
That may well be a back marker.
But then
it comes out, comes across, sideswipes the BMW, forces it off the racetrack, also spins the Audi. We thought that might have been Michael Ammermuller, and apologies to Michael, it wasn't.
I think it was 41 potentially, which is the similar Santalot car of Pierre Hershey. It is. Pierre Hershey, one of the Gentleman Trophy racers. And now where is he?
Well, he's doing a 3-point turn, well off the racetrack, thank goodness. So he made his way up to the loop, but in fact, there's a link road in the loop which brings you back out into Chapel Curve as you would go onto Hanger Straight. So he's actually more than likely parking the car there, and he'll have difficulty getting back to the pits. So if he should so choose to walk back, he may want to stay there for the rest of the afternoon.
And there is Lucas Ordóñez in traffic, trying to work his way past the 58 Porsche of Christian Kelders, double class winner last year. Up through Abbey goes the Nissan. The lead gap, a 2.5 seconds. Now, even though there's traffic, of course, Darren Turner, going back to John Watson's point about being a race driver, not a virtual race driver, he has got more experience of getting through the traffic, and yet again, 77 Rodan Younessi has had a spin. That's at least number 4 spin, and he's in the middle of the road at Stowe, and that is not a good place to park. He's away again now, but that is just an awful stint. I'm not saying it's all down to Rodan Younessi, but clearly it is not enjoyable for him for whatever reason. He's having a torrid time.
I mean, it's a messy afternoon. He's got a difficult car, inexperience, a lot of pressure going on around. He's having to keep an eye on his mirrors. He's having to keep an eye on where he is on the racetrack, and it's not something he's going to take away with great fondness.
No, very true. More battles raging on lower down the order, including there the recovering Beach Dean ice cream Aston Martin Daniel Mackenzie had a gearbox compressor problem. They've changed the gearbox and got him back out again, so that's a good effort to keep the car in the race. I'm afraid it is 7 laps down in last place, 57th, but it's still going and it will pick up places over 3 hours.
What's a gearbox compressor?
That is what I am told.
Interesting. I think that's something that requires further investigation.
Jack is the man in the pit lane. We shall send him in that direction.
Give us an explanation at some point.
This is Younessi. Oh, he got tangled up with Mark Hayek.
He just was overwhelmed. Cars everywhere into the valley of Stowe Corner.
So Rodan Younessi facing the wrong way, but to be fair to him, that wasn't entirely his fault, and that's another drama for Phil Dryberg's Aston Martin.
And he nearly clipped the back of the Ferrari as he got himself going in the right direction.
Almost every camera shot is somebody having a drama at the moment, isn't it? There's so much happening. What else have we had going on? Steve Jans is there in the Mercedes. This is Luffield, and he just gets it wrong. Loses the back of the car. Whoops, that's Eugenio Amos arriving.
It is busy, but that was a very all too simple. Turned in on the brakes, turned the wheel off the throttle, back end is light, it's unloaded. And once you get the pendulum effect, that's what you saw, and the car had a harmless spin, but it could have been much more serious because as he made his way back in the direction of travel, 2 cars went one above and one went below. Oh, wheels come off, and it's safety in the barrier, so let's have a look and see who that is.
Somewhere there is a 3-wheeler.
Oh dear me, that's strange. Strange coming out of Aintree. It's a McLaren as well.
It's an ART Grand Prix McLaren. It's 12, which means that it is Gregoire de Moustier.
What has he done to deserve that?
Just party company completely. He's been off though, hasn't he? Look, because he's got a load of grass in the radiator at the front. So
well, that might have been the consequence of the wheel coming off, because the right-hand wheels come off. He would have obviously, if it was in a corner, go off. Is that the wheel about to come off? Yes, it is.
And that's going to throw him onto
the
grass.
There it is. But he went off track once the wheel had come off driving, and he didn't realise. Well, maybe he did realise the wheel had come off, but he would have certainly found it difficult to control the car going through the left-hand Aintree corner.
Indeed so. So Gregoire de Moustier comes into the pits, and his teammate's got to come in for a drive-through. So ART Grand Prix finds itself in a whole world of pain at the moment. So you're looking at the fight for third place, and Christopher Mies is ahead, and that's 71 going all off the road. Victor Scheiter, who almost gets collected by Henri Moser behind him.
I mean, it looked like he never even got off from throttle. I know the grass is pretty slippery, although there has been no rain here for a few days. Nevertheless, the sap in the grass does not like rubber, and Ferrari did not really up in Beckett's. It all occurred in the left-hand part of Beckett's, got it all completely wrong, then cut across the inside of the final part of Beckett's, and I dread to think what thoughts were going through the mind as he saw where he was about to re-enter the racetrack, just ahead of the BMW.
That is incredibly close. Pouring through Copse Corner, there is Peter Dumbrecht's car, and looking at the rest of the field all filing through, there's the earlier delayed Henry Hassid BMW that's working its way back up the order after that punctured tyre that cost it ground early on in the race, went strongly in class at Monza. So Dumbrecht fourth I should say, out of Copse Corner. And what is he doing relative to Christopher Mies? Half a second is the gap between them. Carving their way through traffic. Christopher Mies doing a good solid stint, and now look, you see Dumbrecht gets held up by traffic, and Ortelli is right on his tail. They're going to be 3 wide through the Beckett's S's if possible. It's not going to work there, so Dumbrecht being held up by the number 16 Audi of Enzo Eid. Onto Hanger Straight they come now. Can the Nissan pounce, or is Stefan Ortelli going to be able to find a way past? Dumbrecht flashing his light, saying, come on, I'm quicker, get out of the way.
Well, he's going to make an effort. Surely he's going to have a look down the inside, forces the way through. Squeeze Enzo Eid to the outside of the corner, force him to back off. Now you're in a position, you've gained the advantage, the upper hand. You then use the Audi to slow down the pace of Stefan Ortelli, make him back up against Enzo Eid, and Enzo will then have to look for a way to allow Stefan Ortelli, who is quicker than the Ferrari of the right and left rear tyre, and that is a deflation that is now 3/4 off the rim, a slow trip back again. Long way from the pit lane entrance.
Alexander Frolov out of the Pro-Am Cup, not one of the leading cars, but even so, that's a problem he could well do without. And fair play, he's keeping well off the circuit, out of everybody's way, but then he's going to find grass, and he's going to have to get back onto the tarmac so he doesn't drive all over the grass and make things even worse.
He's got the best part of a mile or more to get back to the pit lane entrance with a car with a flailing tyre. Although these tyres no longer flail in the way the old cross-ply tyres of yore would have done, but nonetheless you've got to be very careful. You could damage your suspension, you could damage potentially brake lines and transmissions also. They don't like the difference in diameter between one side, which is a fully inflated tyre, and the other side, which is a fully deflated tyre. Doesn't do them much good.
So the field currently working lap 28 at Silverstone. That Ferrari of Alexander Frolov in for a long run back towards the pit lane, and Darren Turner is now leading by 6.5 seconds. Another driver being warned about the track limits is Harold Primer. We've seen him having 2 spins already in the race so far, one with a bit of help admittedly. There's Frolov.
Yeah, and Enzo Eid still ahead of Stefan Ortelli, and I don't know whether Enzo is aware of that or whether Ortelli is just unable to find the opportunity, but he'll want to get past Enzo Eid to put that challenge back to Peter Dumbrecht.
Both in Audis, of course, Eid and Ortelli, but different teams. Into the pit lane comes Christopher Mies. Now, this is the first of the really significant pit stops. It's the first routine stop. It's not quite on the hour mark, is it? 3 minutes really before the hour. How's that going to affect things on the fuel later on? And Christopher Mies will hand the car over to Edward Sandstrom or Frank Stippler. Stippler, methinks it is behind the wheel. And that was 27 laps that car 13 came in at.
Interestingly, we have not seen a safety car intervention. And I think a lot of teams, particularly the teams that are running at the front, potentially winning teams, always are gambling somewhere down the line that there will be a safety car intervention for just simply for fuel reasons, if nothing else.
We've had drama out on track, but we haven't had enough to merit a safety car period. And of course, another thing about the modern day of Silverstone, with all of that run-off tarmac and all the access lanes around Silverstone, is that it's easy to get a snatch vehicle out there without having to be on circuit. It can go around the perimeter roads and get to a marshal's point, get things out of the way.
So on this lap, will Darren Turner, at the end of lap 31, will he make it finally into the pits, or is he going to stay out? He's got a BMW he's going to be cautious of. I think he's going to come in. Darren, are you going to come in? No!
He's enjoying himself.
He's done a great job.
He is, isn't he? And if the fuel is there, keep going. Yellow flag at Copse Corner, look, on the approach. Now, what have we lost there?
Is it a car stopped, or is it a car that has spun and gone on, or is it a car irretrievable?
Can't see from that shot. Need to pan around the corner. It's not a safety car period, for example. It's an isolated yellow at one corner. Peter Dunbar.
BMWs.
That's up at...
Is that on the exit of... Wait for the wide angle to get a
Village,
view.
isn't it? That's Village to the loop.
Two cars, that's what's
Stefano
happened.
Colombo is one.
It's up at the loop, yeah.
That is the Bachelier Blanc Malagol Ferrari that's got tagged up with it. So that's not the yellow flag at Copse, that's a different incident.
Different issue altogether.
Trying to get to the bottom of that one. So Jean-Marc Bachelier is the man that's had the incident with Stefano Colombo, and he's about to get back onto the circuit now, coming through Aintree. And Darren Turner is still out there.
Halfway around the lap.
Yeah. Now, reckon he might come in this time?
I think there's a good chance he'll come in this time. I mean, if I keep saying it, he will come in. But again, if the timing when you come in, as we look at him, the BMW is still stranded. And just going back to Darren Turner, you know, when you start to catch up a lot of traffic as he's now doing, is this the right opportunity to bring your driver in? Darren was getting a blue flag waved at these two cars, so they have to concede ground to the lead car. Chose not to do it in the entry into the loop, or into Village Corner, I should say. That's for the BMWs. So he couldn't overtake. That waved yellow flag says you cannot overtake. It's only when you then get a green at the next flag station that it is then clear. And one of the McLarens is due to come in, the Gulf team. Which of the two cars will that be?
Just quickly to say also that the Alexander Scriabin Ferrari that was going strongly in that first stint, they've done a driver change, they put Alexei Basov in the car, but it has got a drive-through to serve for speeding in the pit lane. So, having gone strongly, now that car's race is unravelling as well. Darren Turner comes through Luffield, and John?
Darren Turner's coming into the pits!
Well spotted. He's done it at last. He's in. So that is going to be 32 laps done by Darren when he breaks the timing beam, and in he comes now. So that is a very, very good first stint.
And more importantly, it's an hour and 6 minutes and 38 seconds into the race, so that's going to give them lots of scope for overlap.
Now, this car with wheel nuts that are not designed for what you might call a natural pit stop. They're designed for championships where you stop for a specified time. They will be a little bit slower, so it was important that he stayed out, built up that margin, because some of it, only a little, but some of it will be eroded while he's in the pits.
But Fred Makovicky has jumped in.
Indeed.
And fearless Fred will be out there, and he will nail the Aston Martin, as he did in qualifying, with a great lap of 2 minutes and 1 second. And such a, you know, you can never get upset at Fred Makovicky, because when you look at him, he just opens a big smile,
yes.
and he blinds you with his teeth, and you know, it's just Fred Makovicky.
But he's an absolute star as well. The British media perhaps latch on to other drivers, and Fred Makovicky is very much one of the star drivers. And so the mechanics now do all four corners, they change the tyres, and then their last job, as they run round the back, is to light the blue touch paper. And that is going to propel Fred Makovicky into this stint and let us see that he was the quickest man in qualifying on a slightly heavier fuel load than one as well. Let's see what he can do. There is car one, Laurence Vantour at the wheel.
Yeah, but it's actually Stifler in the sister car who is ahead. He's in second place. In fact, technically he is in the lead, because the Turner Aston Martin, which was leading at the end of lap 32, is in the pits. It's now going to leave the pit lane, so the overlap should see the Aston Martin regain the lead when they complete this lap. Makovicky does back out in the lead, and Frank Stifler, Laurence Vantour, second and third in the Belgium Audi Racing, Audi Auto Club team cars.
So there is the leader. Fred Makovicky now takes over number 97, and look for an Audi in the background. Where?
Just coming up. No, it's not.
A long way, isn't it? There is
Stifler.
13, that's the Schlippler car in traffic. behind 230 as well, which is the Humaid Al Massoud, Charles Bateman, Matt Bell driven Nissan. Charlie Bateman having started it.
Oh, look at the weaving coming down the straight. Oh, no.
That's the field driver, John Gore Aston, having had a moment.
And this problem that trying to keep the engine running. If there is an anti-stall device on these cars, sometimes it kicks in. A little bit of spent fuel in the exhaust system igniting, but it gets back underway. Fastest third sector time, car 57.
Francesco Castellacci in the black Ferrari, the Vita 41 Team Italy car that was started by Eugenio Amos. So that car is starting to get stronger as well. Again, it's just fascinating, isn't it? You put different drivers in and the whole thing changes.
Castellacci is essentially a single-seater race driver.
Yeah.
Driving a GT because it's great racing and it's something he loves doing.
Now this, in the 35 Nissan, is Peter Pizzera, who is not as quick as Ordonez nor Alex Buncombe, who will do the last stint. So, without wanting to be rude, this is a kind of damage limitation stint. He obviously wants to go as quick as he can, but he doesn't want to lose too much time and make Alex Buncombe's workload even bigger.
Indeed. I want to see what Peter Pizzera's first flying lap is going to be. He's coming across the start-finish line, but of course on the Grand Prix pits down at Wing, and makes his way through Abbey, then through the curve, farm curve onto the brakes. You know, it's a big challenge. Most drivers come into motorsport through karting and then into junior formulas. Some go through saloons and GT as well to get to this level. But coming through the academy, the program that they've set in place, still going on, is quite remarkable.
And then when you do go racing, it is in a very bright spotlight, isn't it? You're not hidden away in club races, you're thrown into it, into a GT championship. And now look at this, Fred Makovic.
The aggression. Look how aggressive Fred Makovic is, much more so than Darren Turner. He knows that he wants to get past the McLaren at the very earliest opportunity. You know, he's right under the rear wing coming through Beckett, flashing the headlights. Lost a little bit of momentum coming onto the straight because he was so close. He then forces the issue and dives up in the inside, gets past, in fact, the Ferrari as well, trying to get alongside it as they come down the Vale, succeeds in doing so. And that's Fred Makovic. He just really is aggressive behind the wheel.
But controlled aggression. He's not bouncing off other cars, he's not hurling it over the curbs. That McLaren he was trying to get past was only for 52nd place. He was lapping Jan Goody, but even so he's got to get past because he doesn't want to lose any time at all.
Not at all. And I mean, what a driver will do in the position of Makovic is you put a lap driver under pressure. You put your car right into the mirror of the car that you're trying to get ahead, to force the driver to look in the mirror, the side mirrors, to make him get out of the way. The danger is that you make him overreact and then you get involved yourself. But Fred managed to do that cleanly. Now look at Peter Pizzera's. Peter Pizzera's lapping in 2 minutes 2 seconds. He's doing a good job, even though he is down currently in 5th place.
Let's hear from Darren Turner though, because he did that tremendous opening stint. His car leads and he is with Jack in the pits.
Darren, great battle for the lead of the race there. You just managed to get past.
Yeah, I was quite lucky. There was a bit of an incident up ahead of Lucas, and he had to back out and went one way, and it was a clean line for me on the left, and managed to squeeze past. But you know, even after that point, it was only traffic in between us that really dictated the gap. You know, I could see on a clear lap he had the same pace as me, and you know, maybe I was a bit more fortunate through the traffic, but it was good. You know, it's our first run in the championship, first time trying to understand the tyres, and you know, just try to settle into the race, and you know, very happy the team's done a good job to get the car to work with these tyres in such a short time. Thank you. Thanks, cheers.
Job well done by Darren Turner, but what else did we expect? Over the timing line, once more the gap just a 10th of a second now, and there is number one. So through goes Laurens Vanthoor, but he runs a little bit wide this time over the curb. You can see how much he's pushing. He's desperate to get through. Stefan Ortelli watching on, and Edward Sandstrom in the background is also interested in this because he's one of the co-drivers for 13. They could not be closer. Fantastic racing this for second spot. Frank Stippler comes through the Beckett's S's, staying away from the curb, whereas having a real bite of the curb both in and out of Beckett's that time was Laurens Vanthoor, and he's right under the rear wing down towards Stoke Corner. This should be the chance. He lines up, he pulls out maybe a bit too soon, who knows, but up to the braking area they come. Is he going to be able to go through? Yes, Laurens Vanthoor goes by, and Frank Stippler didn't make that hard in the end. I think he realised it was a team idea to let him by.
Absolutely, and he did it in a way where it doesn't look like he's been told to let Vanthoor go through. It was a clean overtake. It was well executed, judged and executed move by Laurens Vanthoor, and he may have come out a little bit early on Hanger Straight, but he got the position, and Frank Stippler sensibly didn't challenge. Again, running wide on the exit of club. Not all four wheels, but not awfully far away from all four wheels on the exit of club.
And driving standards flags to be shown to now Laurens Vanthoor for not respecting the track limit, so we did see him running wide, and the race director has spotted it as well. So now this gives us a new car up in the second place, and this is the best that we've seen out of number one in the race. It has not yet been in second position on pure pace. It is now. I just wonder what Laurens Vanthoor can do to bring down 23.4 seconds worth of a gap.
That was the gap between Frank Stippler and Fred Makowiecki. Now once the overtake has taken place, it'll probably actually extend slightly until Laurens Vanthoor can get into his own rhythm, running ahead of his teammate, and see if he can make any challenge. The last lap for the two Audis were just about a second plus slower than that from Fred Makowiecki and the Aston Martin leading.
So Stef Dusseldorp up now into the top six. His last lap was a 2 minutes 5.3. Quicker than one or two of those ahead of him, but of course those have been doing a bit of squabbling, and there's also the traffic to factor into this. That car now is over a minute away from the race leader and 24 seconds away from his next target.
Yeah, but the trouble is the next target is Lucas Luhr, who's actually pulling away from Stef Dusseldorp.
Yeah.
So he's got himself into sixth place, a good drive, and I mean a well-earned drive for the hard work that's gone into that McLaren this weekend. But Lucas Luhr, really, of all the top six drivers, is the one that I'm focusing on. He is consistently quicker than those cars ahead of him, and he's just doing a typical Lucas Luhr job, head down in traffic, and he's so used to driving in traffic as he does every weekend in North America, where the traffic is much, much more difficult than we're seeing at Silverstone.
We had the replay of that overtake, and now this is what is going on coming down through Vale, because you can see how much pressure Dusseldorp is under. Nick Katzberg upholding Mark VDS Honor is right there behind him, and ahead is the mirror image of Lucas Luhr's car. That's the Hamed Al Massoud car. But now look at Katzberg getting all tow. He looks to the inside as they go up towards Abbey, but he's defended by Dusseldorp, who pounces on the slower car. Through he goes, and Katzberg sits absolutely on the back of him. If the McLaren's going through, he's going to follow, because he can't afford to waste a single tenth of a second.
Correct, and that's the way you do it. I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on the Nissan to make sure that he is aware there are two cars looking to go again, not to go round the outside, but to make the undercut, and he's got it. Has he got it? Can he sustain it through Aintree, side by side, two cars, and they make it through, and Katzberg's on the inside, forcing Stef Dusseldorp off onto the outside, almost two wheels onto the grass.
Superb racing, and it's not done yet, because look how late Stef Dusseldorp brakes, but he's on the outside line. They're almost touching going into Brooklands. They're still side by side. Katzberg is just ahead. Is he going to get the place going up towards Luffield? He is. He moves across. He takes the line. Brilliant racing.
Great racing by two young drivers, racing wheel to wheel, clean racing. They gave each other just about enough room, didn't have contact as they came out of the loop through Aintree, down Wellington Straight, into Brooklands, and then into Luffield. And that's what I like to see, good, serious racing, but clean racing.
Fred Makowiecki gets held up a little bit here in the traffic. It's the Howard Blank Ferrari just up ahead of him, the American driver, and you can see it in the red, white and blue colours. Through on the inside now goes Fred Makowiecki, easily through the traffic now, but he doesn't want to get too unnecessarily caught up, doesn't want to take any risks in getting by.
No, he had to go really quite far over to the right, up almost against the pit wall down by the wing, to make sure he got clear of the first of the two Ferraris, and he just about had enough momentum as the Dusseldorp car comes in for its second stop, and just had enough momentum to get into Abbey ahead of the second Ferrari. So the rather tall Stef Dusseldorp gets out of that car, and the more stocky Alvaro Parent, and that was a good run for Stef Dusseldorp, and a car that, when we watched qualifying this morning, I thought was as big a handful as I've ever seen a race car here at Silverstone.
It just did not look comfortable. It didn't so much bounce through Beckett's, it lolloped. It had absolutely no poise at all.
Skipped and jumped, literally, and that is no exaggeration.
But they've turned it around, and Philippe Dumas' team now looking a bit more competitive as the race wears on. Well, we're almost at the end of the second hour, and that therefore means, as you can see, that we're now back into pit stops, and Alvaro Parent is the quickest driver in this car, so why not give him the maximum track time available? And away he goes, blasts down the pit lane. Also Anthony Kumpen has just come in the number 16 Audi to give way to Marcus Winkelhock. Let's have a look at the order as they go over the line then. Mucker to Ras, the gap has gone up by 0.8 of a second, so the Aston is pulling away from the Audi once again. And then in third place it is this car, the number 13 Audi, in the hands now of Edward Sandstrom. So unless we get a safety car to bunch them up, I think those gaps are going to be pretty difficult to reduce in the first part of the order.
Stefan Mucker's last lap, 2 minutes and 2 seconds, against the fastest lap for that car. Really strong run by Mucker. Doesn't look it, but he's actually pushing very hard.
The fourth place Ferrari has gone through, and then for fifth, number 4 BMW will be through there, Marcus Paltler. So you can see how over the course of the first 2 hours the gaps have really widened.
So what is it, 48 seconds between first and fourth, and we're waiting for the BMW to come across start finish line.
It's gone through,
it's
but
gone through with the
over
times
a minute.
Haven't yes.
Over a minute back from the race leader. So if the race director is listening, what can you find to put a safety car out for? Because we'd like the gaps to come down if they can a little bit. But Marcus Paltler is pushing on. In sixth is Stephen Kane, and he is pushing on, and he is catching Paltler. So there, number 23 Nissan, currently sixth. That's got a chance of bagging fifth before the end of the race. That gap's coming down. The team manager of number 2, which is the Belgian Audi Club team, WRT Audi, going to the race director. So either Vincent Voss or Pierre Dieudonné on their way up the stairs. But that's the car that's running in 8th place at the moment, Matt Halliday at the wheel. And where is 7? It's 7th, Alvaro Parent at the wheel.
Alvaro doing again a job to match that of Steph Düsseldorf in a car that was difficult, and we haven't seen it looking so, I would just say, fundamentally difficult to drive in the event itself as it was in qualifying. But you can see the way the car is sort of rocking.
Yeah.
It's a rocking motion, and again there it's almost a fore and aft. It is very strange, and of course the difficulty teams have got everything is homologated. Once the season begins, you're unable to do development to find an improvement. So there's things, work in progress within the mechanical side of that McLaren that could certainly give the drivers a much easier time.
The Pro-Am Championship class battle is raging on. This is the car that leads it, and it's Alex Buncombe at the wheel. It was, for whatever reason, a long second pit stop, and that car's dropped a long way down the order. Alex, we know, is quick, but when you lose, I think it was something like 2 minutes in that pit stop, it's going to be very, very hard to come back from there. And what it's done is put it almost a lap down on the leader.
Is that a bit of smoke up at the... there's a
Yes,
car
it is.
smoking badly as it comes down into Luffield, into Brooklands. Where's that? Is it there? Which car is that?
It's the 57 Ferrari Giacomo Petrobelli, and that is looking very, very smoky indeed. He just caught Adam Carroll.
I think he would like to find a fire station as soon as possible.
He's gone through the gravel to get off the circuit. He was almost at pit in. Oh, he's now damn. Yes, he's in. It's
well
well ablaze.
Fire behind the engine, a real engine, fuel line, engine fire. And he may well have found that fire station because there are 2 marshals there.
And Alex Buncombe is still chipping away, leading the Pro-Am Cup. The charge that he has put in is an impressive one. It's not actually helping in terms of an overall position, but that's not really what this car is about. That car wants to win the Pro-Am class, and it looks like it's going to happen, because with 5 minutes to go, I know they've had trouble in whatever sense in the pits for whatever reason they've lost time, but it's on for a class win, and this is the Gentleman Trophy class leading Porsche. Ahmed Al-Hati at the wheel, and that car running strongly. Miro Konopka, who is a quick gentleman racer, has done a good middle stint in the car, but the Omani driver really doing the lion's share of the work, and it's noticeable, isn't it, that every time he's been behind the wheel, the car has been in the lead of the class. This for 4th place now has got Zampieri and Marcus Paltler right up behind him, and that Ferrari is losing pace. It was 1.3 seconds ahead of Paltler at the start of the lap, but now Abbey Paltler, the Finn, looking for a way by. He can't do it there, but it's game on, and that BMW is so much quicker, but the Ferrari is wide enough. Zampieri with really sharp elbows, keeping him at bay. To the outside of Village goes Paltler. He's done it, has he? Yes, but he's on the wrong line for the corner. He gets squeezed over the curb.
He was forced. The Ferrari forced the BMW over the curb. It just ran the BMW off the racetrack. Now that was something that is maybe beyond what is considered sporting. It was defence. Certainly the Pantala had a good run, went the long way around and tried then to get advantage into the loop, and the Ferrari denied it in a very forceful manner.
Yellow card, in your opinion?
I would certainly be taking it out of my pocket.
Right.
Wouldn't necessarily should, but if he does it again, definitely.
Brandish it at him, okay. I mean, yes, he did squeeze him over the curb, but they were level at that point, weren't they? So Marcus Paltela dealt with fairly ruthlessly by Daniel Zampieri. Brutally. He's got to do it all over again then as the Finn. But why is that Ferrari losing pace all of a sudden? His last lap was a 2:07. Here it is again, John.
Okay, now at that point the BMW was marginally ahead, then in the corner the Ferrari got it back. But look, close it. That is not the natural racing line, that is the defensive racing line. And Paltela had to simply get out of the throttle and almost half off the racetrack as they continue this battle, 3 minutes remaining.
So Paltela will have another go at this. This has become the best fight on track. And a goodly crowd at Silverstone watching this. We'll see the cars now accelerating their way once again down through Vale towards Club. And this is Stowe Corner first of all, then they'll go down through Vale. And we're looking at the battle going on for 4th overall and 4th in the Pro Cup. At the start of the lap, it was 0.3 of a second between them. But can Paltela do anything about the Ferrari? Well, he's right under the rear wing then, as they now work their way up through Club. He's going to have another go, is he, as they swing through the right-hander. He needs to be right under the rear wing, and there may be challenge at the same part of the circuit as he did a lap ago. Up they come then now towards Abbey. Again, Paltela looks to the inside line, but again, there's no way through there. He turns his way to the right, then the left, and heads up now towards Village. This is where he made the move a lap ago, but this time Zampieri is wise to it. But again, Paltela tries the outside line. This time they get a touch, and the BMW gets tagged sideways. And again, Paltela goes off the road, but that time it was with even more help. Daniel Zampieri, same corner, different lap, kind of the same result. He stays ahead, but by increasingly forceful methods. Onto Wellington Straight they come, and Paltela thinks, well, third time lucky. What does he do now? He's going to try and get the time back somehow. Here's the replay of it, coming out of Farm. To the outside line goes the BMW. Paltela brakes as late as he can. It was a bit touch and go, but Zampieri goes deep into the corner because he braked too late, and there's the contact that ends up just forcing Paltela off the road again. There's Darren Turner with Fred Makovici watching on, and looking pretty content with all of this. 2 thumbs up from Darren, yeah. So a good Blancpain debut for him. Fred Makovici has won in Blancpain in the past, but driving McLarens. And there is 97. The Aston Martin Racing Vantage GT3 comes out of Aintree, down now towards Brooklands, and Darren Turner makes his way to the pit wall ready to cheer home Stefan Mucker, who's done a shortish stint. It was about 46 minutes to go when he got on board the car. He's only had to really consolidate the lead given to him. Hard work done by all 3 of them, but in different ways. Darren Turner battling early on to get the car in the lead, Fred Makovici battling to maintain the gap and build on that gap, and Stefan Mucker battling to bring it home and keep out of the way of all the traffic to score victory at Silverstone. Aston Martin wins round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series. Stefan Mucker, Darren Turner and Fred Makovici take the race win. And not only is Darren Turner being able to celebrate being the first British driver to win outright, but that is also the first outright win for Aston Martin. Over the timing line now comes René Rast to take second place with Stefan Ortelli and Laurens Van Tour, and then in third spot is going to be the Edward Sandstrom, Chris Mies and Frank Stippler, Audi. Stefan Mucker opens the door, clambers out of the car, and big smiles, big thumbs up, and a job well done. Fred Makovici is there to congratulate him, so too Darren Turner. Stefan Mucker, Fred Makovici, Darren Turner win round 2 of the Blancpain Endurance Series. It's the first Aston Martin victory. John Watson is there to join the celebrations.
Congratulations, looked easy.
It was not easy, I think so. It was a really nice job of everybody, and the team did a great car, and every time a good pit stop, and my 2 teammates was incredible today.
Darren, you made history today, first British driver to win a Blancpain Enduro event, I understand.
Oh well, that's even a better way to finish the day. It's been an amazing weekend. You know, it's our first time in the championship, getting to understand the tyres and everything else. Team's done a great job, got the car up to speed. Stefan, brilliant at the end. Freddie in the middle, and you know, I had a bit of fun with Lucas in the Nissan at the beginning. So a great weekend for everyone at Aston Martin.
Well done, Darren. Stefan, you got short change there. The car's so efficient on fuel. You only got about 47 minutes. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it was a great race. Aston Martin did a great job, and also my teammates. Darren did a very good job at the beginning to get in the lead, and Freddie just built up a bigger gap. So it was not easy at the end. It was still quite a hard fight, and also we had to understand the tires. But well done to everybody. We are really happy.
And so the Pro Cup, after 86 laps, 3 hours of racing, no safety cars, won by Darren Turner, Fred Makovici and Stefan Mucker, from Stefan Ortelli, Laurence Vantour and René Rast, and then Frank Stippler, Edward Sandstrom and Christopher Mies third. On the last lap, high drama. Lucas Law, Stephen Kane, Peter Dumbreck get fourth. Marcus Paltela, Nick Katzberg and Henri Moser fifth. And sixth goes the way of Zampieri, Ramos and Rigon. The rest of the Pro Cup cycles through, but sort of ignore anything really from 16th and down, because those are cars that didn't make it to the end. We know about the Petrobelli Ferrari going up in smoke, others with problems and damage as well. We have Darren Turner receiving his trophy, Fred Makovici and Stefan Mucker likewise. Great reception for them, and Darren making his Blancpain debut. I'm sure it's the same for Stefan Mucker, although we have had Fred Makovici here in the past winning. And John Gore takes over the mantle of being the team manager, so he gets on the top step, even though he was only third in his own class. So John Gore is the man in the blue and black overalls, who is third in the Gentleman Trophy, but as the boss of Aston Martin Racing, he gets on the podium to represent the team and to get a trophy himself. Trophies now for Alex Buncombe, Lucas Ordóñez and Peter Pizzera. A win for Nissan GT Academy Team RJN. So the Gentleman Trophy won by Krotka and Al-Hati. First victory for both, ahead of Maurice Ricci, Gabriel Balthazar and Jerome Policant. For Jack Nicholls in the pits, from John Watson and from me, David Addison. Then it is going to be goodbye from Silverstone, and we look forward to round 3 of the championship at Paul Ricard.